welcome to this week's live timeline session. This one I'm very excited for. As always, these are a lot of fun, but this is where we're really starting to get into the main focus of this. So far we've been sort of reviewing the fundamentals of the book and the fundamentals of playing the clarinet. Now we're getting into sort of the second section of the book, which is all about these fundamentals exercises to help you master the fundamentals. So if you go through these exercises really diligently and really go for your very, very, very best quality of playing that you can get on it, these are the things that are going to truly make your clarinet playing better and help to ensure that you really have mastered the instrument. The other exciting thing about today is this is the first one that has a daily warm-up as part of it. So before I get too much into it, let me just recap for anybody who doesn't know what the timeline sessions are about. This is coming from my book, The Next Generation Clarinet Method, which has these timelines as part of it that sort of guide you through the book, tell you what exercises to do when, depending on your skill level. So right now we're working through sort of the intermediate one, and I'm just going live to everybody as I work through it myself to sort of demonstrate how to get the most out of the book and most out of the exercises. So this one is the first one, like I mentioned, that has a daily warm-up. So in the timelines, there's the blue boxes that sort of are the focus for your session. And then there's red boxes. And once you hit a red box, you're supposed to do that daily warm-up each time you practice before you do the actual main session. So I'm going to actually be doing these daily warm-ups now from now on as we do these live timeline sessions, just like you should be doing in your timeline as you move through it. So the first warm-up is the scale long tones from page 11 in the book. Just the super simple ones for 3 minutes. And then the technique part of the warm-up is the finger flexibility, stepwise motion, or climbing up on page 23 or page 24 for 7 minutes. And it could be both of those if you're able to get through both of those in 7 minutes, but remember that the quality is much more important than just playing through all of those notes. And then last but not least, we have articulation for 5 minutes, which is the scale articulation on page 27. So page 11, 23, 24, and 27. So let me go ahead and pull up my book. And let's start with some scale long tones. I also need to pull up my timer so that I can do it for the right amount of time. These times are pretty much just suggested times. You can certainly feel free to adjust them, but the thought process behind working with a timer, just like we've been working with a timer for the sessions, is that it gives you more framework and more guidance so that you get in there, you do your allotted time. Even if you finish the exercise, try to still come up with more things to improve, more things to think about in that time. And then once the time's up, you've done it for the day and you're good to move on. So 3 minutes on the timer, and let's do some scale long tones. And as I'm doing these, as always, really focusing on really, really good sound quality. I'm thinking about the one finger embouchure and the bullseye breath support that we reviewed on the very first session of the timeline. And it's actually really helping to find that sweet spot of the sound. is a little rattly sounding. I'm going to adjust my reed a little bit, move it up a little, and see if that helps. Oh, and that was the timer for long tones. So now I'm going to set my timer for 7 minutes. Maybe. Seven minutes on the clock for some finger flexibility. And I am going to start with the stepwise motion because I did the climbing up actually as part of the articulation bonus challenge last week. So I'll do the stepwise motion so we can hear that one. It's great to do this with a metronome. I'm not going to do it with a metronome just because the recording, the metronome's not always nice, but you should definitely do this with a metronome to make sure it's really precise. And I'm definitely slurring everything since I'm doing it as a technique exercise. I will say one thing too with the metronome on this, you'll notice that I'm doing a lot of different tempos and really moving around. Sometimes that is a benefit of not practicing with the metronome, so it's easier to try different tempos. The thing to be careful of though is that you're staying the same tempo through a measure. You don't want to like be slow on one finger pattern and then fast on another one just because it's easier. You want to make sure that the tempo in the steady beat is dictating when your fingers move, not your fingers dictating how fast or slow you play. This is a particularly tricky one where it's this, both the weak fingers of the right hand moving together and coordinating really well. So I'm really thinking to stay relaxed and keep everything as relaxed as possible, as natural as possible, and not do anything crazy here. Just keep it relaxed and in control. Just relaxed, effortless motion, and that's what makes it so you can play fast. So this one I'm trying the alternate fingering. Instead of just the easy fingering, I'm also alternating because sometimes that comes up in music, so it's useful to have it able to do it on an exercise like this. I'm also paying really careful attention to matching the sound quality on these two. I don't want any notes popping out. Great. And that's just about time. And I also saw that Mutant P asked or said a comment. I've just picked up the clarinet. I'll try to follow you in these exercises. Yeah. This is what I'm here for, helping people learn to play the clarinet. If you've just picked up the clarinet, I might suggest checking out my video on it's the definitive how to play clarinet guide for beginners. Maybe I'll be able to put that in the comments. I don't know if I can actually on the live video, but you can just search YouTube for QuickStart clarinet, even just how to play clarinet. It's probably the first one comes up. It's like an hour and like 16 minutes long or something, and it goes over all of the basics of getting started playing, and I think that's a great place to start if you're new to playing the clarinet. These exercises might be a little hard to follow, but you can get the sheet music for these exercises also by going to quickstartclarinet.com/nextgenbook. That link is in the description already, so that you can actually have this music that I'm working on as well and work on it for yourself. I also mentioned at the beginning that this is the intermediate timeline, the sort of mastery timeline. There's also a beginner's timeline that goes over more of the basics. Yeah, Mutant P says with the pandemic, there's no lessons now. I teach online lessons, and you might be able to find an online teacher if you're looking for that. But self-study is also good, and it's a good time to be self-studying. But yeah, next let's go on to the articulation. So I just set my timer for 5 minutes. Now I'm doing the scale articulation on page 27 from the book. Again, all about quality. Definitely would recommend with a metronome because we want to be moving our tongue right in time. But steady beat is really important. So I'm starting super duper legato, not too fast, and just focusing on the quality of the articulation, making sure every note sounds exactly the same, making sure that the sound quality is nice through the whole thing. Because remember, quality is always more important than quantity. And you can hear that I'm not doing the exercise exactly how it's written. I'm not just playing straight through it. I'm playing through it with the goal of getting the quality that I want. So if there's even just one note I hear that's not as consistent as I would like, I'm going back, I'm doing more repetitions on that note, making sure that I get everything exactly the way that I want. The other thing that you can do, especially since we have 5 minutes to do just this 2 lines of music, is to change it up a little bit. You could add more notes, go higher in the range if you want to work on some higher notes. You could change the style of the articulation. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try some staccato and experiment with keeping that like good legato feel, but actually more space between the notes. And the timer did go off, and I kept going just a little bit past the timer. Again, totally okay. The timer's just a rough estimate. You should do at least the full time. If you go over a little bit, that's fine. If you go over a lot, that's also fine if you have more time to practice. You can always customize these things to the amount of time that you have to practice, of course. Now, that's the warm-up for this session. That's just your sort of daily warm-up. Now I'm going on to doing the actual session. So I set a timer for 15 minutes, and now I'm going to pull up the actual session for today. So this is the 5th blue box that we come across in the mastery timeline. And I'm also going to swab out. It's always a good idea to swab after warming up, or swab after every 10, 20, 30-ish minutes of playing. Yeah, Mutant P saying that the higher register is even harder, especially on the articulation exercise, and they were getting lots of squeaks. Yeah, that's not uncommon. You noticed as I was doing that, every now and then I would just hold the note long, especially after a breath, I would hold the note long. And the goal of doing that was to just feel where that note is and be comfortable, confident holding the note and playing the note. And then I would move my tongue to the reed. And the goal is to touch your tongue to the reed, stop the reed vibrations, and then go right back to playing that great note. So there's not really any change that happens, just as little motion of the tongue as possible to get the reed to actually stop vibrating, and then straight back to good, pure sound that you were getting before. Cool. So the actual session for today is page 32, the Christmas tree long tones, and page 35, the 2 octave scales. And the purpose that I say is, as you play these, remember the purpose behind them. The Christmas tree long tones are all about finding the right balance of air, embouchure, and tongue position to get your very best sound, then making smooth connections so everything is even. The scales are about maintaining that great sound and connection while moving your fingers. Steady rhythm is a must, and a metronome is highly encouraged on the scales. I will say also that the metronome is not necessarily discouraged, but definitely not necessary on the long tones. So I'll probably mention that again as we actually play it. But yeah, we had page 32 and 35 from the book. So let's hear those. Long tones, page 32 and 35. Cool. So starting with Christmas Tree, which is the 3rd exercise on page 32. And this is a long tone exercise, so this mastery timeline is all about mastering the fundamentals. So you're really going to be playing a lot of these warm-up exercises, which maybe aren't the most interesting to listen to and probably aren't the most interesting to play either. But the secret is always thinking about getting more quality out of these things, making sure you're getting it exactly right. I like to say if you can't sound exactly the way that you want on a long tone, then you have no chance of sounding good in a piece of music where you have to think about rhythms and notes and all the other stuff that's going on. So really take the time here to get the very best quality and exactly what you want out of the instrument. So you hear me doing like the same couple notes many times, even though it's not written that way. Again, if you just play through this, you're not going to get as much out of these exercises as you can. What I'm doing as I do these repetitions is I'm really listening, again for the quality. I'm listening to each note, making sure they match, making sure that the transitions between the notes is really smooth, not one note popping out or any extra junk on this C to F. I'm getting a little bit of where you can hear that as like extra junk between, so I'm trying not to have any of that and make sure that it feels good and do several repetitions of it going well. So you may hear that I'm doing it again and maybe you didn't necessarily hear anything wrong with it. Maybe I didn't necessarily hear anything wrong with it, but I'm just seeing if I can do it that good again, because consistency is a really important part of being a really good player. So that, I think, was a good amount of time. Yep, that was about half of my time of the session on the Christmas tree. Now I'll go on to the scales. Notice how I just did that one little bit that way, focusing really on sound quality at that specific dynamic. You could definitely do more repetitions on this at different dynamics, maybe even changing dynamics. You could do different registers. You could do it all up an octave. You could start on a different note. You can get really creative with these and get even more out of than just what's on the page, like I'm already doing by doing lots of repetitions. You could also do it with a tuner, would be another way to increase the difficulty. But now I'm going on to the 2 octave scales, and these are more of a technique exercise, so I definitely recommend doing them with the metronome and making sure that the rhythm is really precise while also maintaining the sound quality, just like is written in the focus on the timeline, keeping the sound quality good while keeping the connections and rhythm precise. let's see how much time I have left. A minute and a half. Let's see. For that time, I'm going to do the A harmonic minor again because I'm not super used to doing that one, and see if I can just be a little bit more precise and sound great. Whoops. Yeah, that was good practice. I don't normally practice the harmonic minor scale, actually. I usually do melodic minor when I'm doing my minor scales, so that was a good challenge for sure. Now, another really important point or thought about these scales in particular and these sessions, this is only doing it in C major and A minor. I could definitely do these in different keys, and in the members area, you can find the All Keys companion guide that has these exercises in the other keys, so you can actually look at the music and do it, or you can transpose it yourself too if you know how to transpose. There's also a page on how to do that in the book as well. But this would be a great exercise to do in all of the keys. So this session I did C major and A minors. Maybe next session I could do F majors and or F majors and D minors, or G majors and E minors, or whatever other key, and do all of the keys. If you really want to be a master of these exercises, doing them all in all of the keys is a must. I think in the future I'll do some transposing and do some things in other keys as well, but I think with the Christmas tree and all of those 2 octave scales in the time today, worked fine in those keys. Now, in the timeline, I'm going to write some of my progress. So, Christmas tree, piano, more or less piano, went well. And the 2 octave scales, I did in C and A. And I'm going to make a note that harmonic minor was a little tricky because I'm not used to it. I could really feel on the way down. I did it once where I played a C sharp, and I could feel that I wanted to do that a lot because in the higher octave, going from A to G sharp, I did that. In the lower octave, my pinky wanted to go down with my ring finger as well. So that was the thing that was a little tricky that I could work on a little bit. But that is today's timeline session. So I sort of planned this as being a 10-minute warm-up, a 15-minute session with a break in there. You could also do 15 minutes on something else. I've been live for 38 and a half minutes so far. I did answer some questions and swab and all of that stuff, so maybe you end up practicing a little bit longer if you do another 15 minutes. These don't always fit perfectly into their allotted time, but I feel really good about the practice that I did today. I haven't spent that much time on just warm-ups in a while, especially being really diligent about just doing those few specific exercises. Often I will spend about 30 minutes or so warming up, but I usually do a lot of different exercises and I'm not quite so concise and focused with it, so that was really helpful. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Even after the live ends, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put those in the comments and I'll be happy to answer those. So happy practicing. Good luck with the timelines. If you don't have the next generation clarinet method and you want to be working on this kind of stuff because you think it would be helpful for you, and if you don't think it would be helpful for you, it would be helpful for you. Even for me, this stuff is really helpful, even though I wrote the book and do this stuff pretty regularly. Going through these has been great. So if you want it, go to quickstartclarinet.com/nextgenbook. That link's also in the description. Also, if you just want to see a few samples, if this wasn't enough of a taste of it for you, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/sample. That link's also in the description, and check it out. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week as we go on to the 6th blue box in the mastery timeline.